Did they like forget to put my brain in the oven? Because my brain does not feel fully cooked. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. It was my birthday last week. Shout out to all my fellow Leo baddies. Happy Leo season. Although probably by the time I edit and upload this video it'll probably be Virgo season. So happy Virgo season, all my Virgo baddies. So I want to address something first before we get into this video. Someone lied to me. Someone told me that our brains are supposedly fully developed and everything by the time we reach 25, and we will be able to like get some stability in our lives and know what to do with like our lives and stuff and feel like mature grown adults. Did they like forget to put my brain in the oven? Because my brain does not feel fully cooked. I feel cooked in like a bad sense, in like, chat, we are cooked, because what? I don't know what I expected. I wasn't expecting to like turn 25 and suddenly for a switch to be flipped in my brain and for me to suddenly know how to sort my life out, because that is unrealistic. But also, like, I do feel slightly disappointed that that didn't happen in the end. So, yeah, to everyone in their early 20s who are kind of hoping that everything will change when they hit 25 and life will be cool and awesome and you'll have some form of stability, that's not going to magically happen. I'm sorry. I'm disappointed as well. But in other, more positive news, I got some books for my birthday. Now, the photo that you probably saw in the thumbnail of this video is slightly misleading because I did get most of these books on my birthday. There are a couple of books that I bought a few days afterwards for reasons, but they're not all books I received. Most of them are actually books I bought with my own money. This is not overconsumption core. I'm not asking for hundreds of pounds worth of books for my birthday. I don't have that kind of money. No one I know has that kind of money. We'll go through everything, but I actually I got like 4 books I received for my birthday, and then the rest of them I bought myself using money that I have saved up. We will get into it later in the video. It's a whole thing. We are going to start off with the books that I did receive for my birthday first, though, which is not that many, but they're pretty cool. Okay, so these are the books that I actually received for my birthday. We do a little fun game for every of my birthdays and every Christmas where I get a stack of books and my my family makes me guess the books that are wrapped up. They're all wrapped up individually, and they make me guess what books are inside each package. And then, supposedly, if I get it wrong, I don't get the book. They have to return it, but like that has never happened. They don't actually make good on that promise, thankfully, because I'm so bad. I'm usually like really really bad at the game because like the books are normally like you get a few paperbacks and you get a few hardbacks and they look exactly the same. So it's usually very difficult to guess. But this time around, I had fewer books and they're all kind of relatively different sizes. You have like one normal paperback, one slightly larger paperback, and then 2 hardbacks. One of them is thicker than the other. So I did actually manage to get all of them right this time, for the first time ever. So yeah, let's go through the books that I received, starting off with this one, Story of a Heart by Rachel Clark, which very recently won the Women's Prize for Nonfiction, the second ever winner of the prize. And yeah, this is a nonfiction book, obviously, um, written by an NHS doctor, and it is about a heart transplant between 2 children. And yeah, it sounds incredibly sad. And I listened to Rachel Clark's acceptance speech at the Women's Prize Awards. And if you haven't, like, go and listen to it because it is like, it's heart wrenching. Like, the way that she talks about what she does and the people that she meets and the people she talked to when she was writing this book. Honestly, like, tears. And she also talked about like the strain on the NHS and the fact that the government doesn't really care about doctors and nurses and other people who work in the healthcare system as much as they should, because they are all doing incredibly important jobs and they're so understaffed and so underpaid. So yeah, I'm really, really interested to read this one. It's something that I've never really read before. I've never read this kind of book before. So yeah, it'll be really interesting. And yeah, I will have the tissues ready, I'm sure. Moving on to something completely different, we have When the Museum is Closed by Emi Yagi, which has actually only just come out, I think. It's only just been published in English. This is by the same author as Diary of a Void, which I have not read, but I have it on good authority that that is a good book as well. So yeah, I'll read this and then probably get a copy of Diary of a Void if I enjoy this. This is about I think a night shift worker at a museum who like starts talking to a sentient statue of the goddess Venus, and it's like sapphic and weird. Honestly, it gives me kind of Night at the Museum vibes, which is a film I love. So yeah, Sapphic Night at the Museum, right up my street, and it's also a signed copy, which is very exciting. It's got a little pretty little book plate just in there inside the cover, which is really cool. And speaking of signed books, I also got a signed indie exclusive edition of The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong, which is very, very exciting. Look at the sprayed edge on this thing. That's cool. And yeah, after hearing like so many positive reviews of this book, I'm so curious. Honestly, I have not yet read um On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Is that the title? Yes. Um, I haven't read that one, so I don't really know what to expect again, but I have heard people absolutely raving about Ocean Vuong's writing, and I've seen a couple of interviews and speeches that he's given, and he seems very eloquent and well spoken and down to earth as well. So yeah, it's very exciting. And then the fourth and final book that I received for my birthday is a book that I have actually read. I have Mythica here by Emily Hauser, which is a non-fiction ancient history book about the lives of women, kind of around the time that Homer was writing about. Well, I say writing, but like it's all oral poetry and not actually like Homer. The whole Homeric question is a whole other thing that I'm not going to get into because yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, it's just talking about how kind of ordinary women don't typically get written about, either by like ancient writers writing at the time, but also like historians now writing about ancient civilization. They tend to exclude ordinary women and just kind of they might mention the more like upper class, the more royal women, who are more famous. They might have been mentioned once or twice, usually in kind of epitaphs and like gravestones and things like that. But she kind of combines literary analysis of the Iliad and the Odyssey, with kind of cutting edge archaeological research that has very recently happened and is steadily kind of revealing what life was actually like for these ancient women, and like puts those together to create like a real picture of just ancient society in general, ancient Bronze Age society, and what might have happened to it, because Bronze Age society was massive and then it just collapsed into the Dark Ages, and that's the reason why we don't know much about it. So yeah, this is fantastic. I read it as an ARC on NetGalley. It was actually the first arc that I ever got approved for on NetGalley, which was honestly so exciting. And I really wanted a physical copy of it because my arc didn't have pictures, and that was the one kind of criticism I had. I was like, I need visual aids, please. So yeah, I have a physical copy now, and I will be able to flick through, and yeah, it's very exciting. Especially because I'm currently writing a book that is a, a Greek myth retelling, kind of set around that age, around the Bronze Age. So yeah, this will definitely help with my research. My book isn't really about women specifically, but at the same time, this book doesn't just focus on women. It looks at society as a whole as well, which is very interesting and very useful. So very excited about that. Okay, so those are all the books that I received from other people on my birthday. Now moving on to a rather large, hefty stack of books that I bought myself on my birthday. These are books I bought with my own money that I have been saving up for over a year. Basically, I saw someone kind of at the end of 2023. I saw that they'd saved up some money for each book that they had read throughout the course of the year, and then they had like a nice little bunch of money to spend on books for 2024. So I thought that was a fun idea, and I decided to do it last year. So I saved up £1 for each book that I read in 2024 that I wanted to use to buy basically mostly paperbacks of books that came out last year throughout 2024 that I didn't want to spend money on as a hardback, but now they're in paperback, they're a little bit cheaper. So that was my idea. I ended up reading 141 books in 2024. So as a result, I saved up £141 throughout the course of the year, and I ended up spending most of it on my birthday. Went to Waterstones Gower Street, which is one of my favorite bookshops ever. Massive, it's like a maze. It's quite honestly quite difficult to navigate, especially for the first time. It's quite overwhelming, but I've been there a few times now, so it's not too bad. So I bought most of the books then. There were a couple of books that I couldn't find there that I ended up just finding at my local Waterstones yesterday, and I bought there. So I believe I spent. How much did I spend? I have the receipts here. I've got receipts, emails, proof.
Receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots.
So yeah, I believe I ended up being £1.64 under budget, which is pretty good going. I bought 14 books. So yeah, not too bad. I definitely could have bought more if I had gone to like the works or just gone to like secondhand bookshops and found books that were like cheaper. But I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to splash out and buy some new books because I don't often get to do that. Most of the books I do buy a lot of books. I have a little bit of a book buying addiction that I'm trying to sort. I'm trying to get over it. This hasn't really helped, but most of the books I do buy are secondhand. So I don't spend as much money on books as I could. But this time it was my birthday. I wanted to splash out. I wanted to treat myself.
Treat yourself.
So yeah, we have 14 more books. So yeah, let's go through them. So first up, we have this beautiful copy of Gold Rush by Olivia Patter. This has only just come out in paperback. Very exciting. And I also managed to find a lovely little signed copy of it. I don't know if you can see. It's gonna mess up the microphone, but yeah, it is signed by the author. I think I managed to find like the last signed copy in the bookshop, which very exciting. This is literary fiction. I keep seeing this trend of like litfic books that have a cover of a painting or a drawing of a woman in a box. Like you know the kind, like Cleopatra and Frankenstein, Blue Sisters, Adelaide. There are so many more, but yeah, this woman in box that is the trend that is happening. It's like the whole kind of block color abstract litfic trend that was massive a few years ago. This is the new trend, I swear. Woman in box. And that has to be symbolic of something, I'm sure. Yeah, this is a litfic about like power. Yeah, it's about a woman who was taken advantage of by a very famous, very rich, very powerful man. And yeah, it sounds really, really interesting. Um, I'm hoping it's going to be like female rage vibes. Um, like Labor by Paris Paloma kind of vibes. Yeah. Then we have Mother of Rome by Lauren J.A. Bear. This came out at the start of this year, I believe, straight into paperback. This is a specifically Roman mythology retelling. Um, this won't be the last myth retelling in this pile. Definitely not. But yeah, this is a Roman myth retelling about the mother of Romulus and Remus, who founded Rome in legend. Mother's called Rhea Silvia, and yeah, I thought this was very interesting. Roman mythology does tend to get overlooked in comparison to Greek mythology, I feel. It's very exciting. Very interested to read this one. We have another Roman mythology Aeneid retelling here. This is The Heir of Venus by Laura Shepperson. This is an Aeneid retelling that follows Aeneas through the eyes of the women who know him. So I think you've got Creusa, Dido, and Lavinia, who are all women who I think they all marry Aeneas. I'm pretty sure. Like they're all Aeneas's wives at some point, and as you can probably tell, some of them do meet some rather sticky ends. Um, and they also like some of them just like don't speak in the Aeneid at all. I think Lavinia maybe has one line or like maybe even no lines. She's just kind of there. And Lavinia by Ursula K. Le Guin is a fantastic retelling from her perspective. So I'm very interested to read this as well. That kind of looks at her and also Aeneas's other wives. Um, yeah. Then we have Bad Habit by Alana Esportero, translated by Mara Faye Letham. I believe this is translated from Spanish. Yes, it's set in 1980s Madrid. It's another lit fic about a young trans woman who she moves out and I guess explores this kind of new neighborhood. Yeah, sounds kind of dark, I guess. Um, sounds very interesting. Quite short as well. Don't expect this would take me very long to read. I definitely want to read more translated fiction, especially I'm filming this in August, which is Women in Translation Month. So I have a lot of books that were written by women and translated into English on my TBR for this month. Might just have to add this one to the TBR as well. Yeah, very interesting. Then we have my first book by Honor Levy, which I mean, I was intrigued by the cover alone. Hello. Um, yeah, this is a short story collection about kind of growing up on the internet and being chronically online. And as someone who is unfortunately chronically online and probably should go out and touch grass a little bit more often than I do, yeah, this sounded very, very interesting. Again, quite short. Shouldn't take me too long to read. I do like a short story collection, especially when I feel like I don't have the attention span to commit to a full novel. Short story collection can bring me out of a slump, definitely. So yeah, very excited to read this. Then we have No Season But the Summer by Matilda Lacer, which is a retelling of the myth of Persephone and Demeter. Notice I said Persephone and Demeter and not Persephone and Hades. Yeah, this has a lot more focus on the mother-daughter relationship, which is technically a little bit more accurate to the origins of the myth. Because when this myth first kind of came into being, I think it was before Hades even like really existed as a god that people worshipped. And it was a lot more kind of focused on the women involved. Um, I did my master's dissertation on contemporary receptions of the myth of Hades and Persephone, and that was kind of part of my research that I found really, really interesting. And I didn't include this book in my research because I don't think it had actually come out then. Um, and yeah, I consider myself a little bit of an expert on the subject, so yeah, it's definitely a special interest of mine. And yeah, this sounds right up my street. Very excited to read it. Then we have Pink Pilled, Women and the Far Right by Lois Shearing. This is my first kind of non-fiction book that I bought myself, and not the last. And yeah, it's about women in the far right. This is like only just come out this year, straight into paperback, which is quite unique for a non-fiction book. But yeah, I'm very, very interested to read it, especially, considering what is going on in Western politics right now. It's definitely a much needed read. I'm kind of, I'm quite interested in kind of political non-fiction books at the moment. Ever since I read Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, found that very, very interesting. But even then, like, it came out, a couple of years ago, and it's already a little bit outdated. Um, this book has only just come out, so hopefully it's not going to be too outdated just yet. Politics moves fast, I know. But yeah, I definitely want to get to this ASAP. Then we have Glyph by Ali Smith. I love Ali Smith's work. I've read the entire Seasonal Quartet and a few of her other books. Absolutely love Girl Meets Boy, which is her um, Iphis and Ianthe retelling. Very exciting. This feels a little bit more speculative, a little bit more dystopian, which, I mean, again, very timely. And actually, fun fact, this is the first ever Ali Smith book that I have bought brand new. Every other Ali Smith book that I own, I bought secondhand, either at a charity shop or online through secondhand websites. I think I own like 10 of her books, and this is the first one that I bought brand new. So part of me was like, maybe I want to wait till, you know, it I see it in a secondhand shop. But then part of me was like, I need to get it now. Even though I think I'm probably going to wait until the companion book to this one, which is also called Glyph, but it's spelled differently. Um, Wait until that comes out in paperback to read them kind of back to back. Which, that could be like, that book doesn't come out until early 2026. So it might come out in paperback like late 2026, maybe even early 2027. It's going to be a long wait. So I'm going to let this book marinate on my shelf until then. But yeah, I'm very pleased to have a copy of it though. Then we have The Palace of Eros by Cara de Roberts, which is a retelling of the myth of Psyche and Eros. But Eros is portrayed as like this non binary, gender fluid character, which makes this into slightly more of a sapphic retelling, which is very exciting. I love a sapphic retelling. This is definitely a kind of new, unique approach to the myth. But yeah, very excited to read this one. Then we have Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, which is, I'm pretty sure, like, considered a bit of a contemporary classic of feminist nonfiction nowadays. I wasn't actually originally going to get this book. It wasn't really on my list of books I wanted to buy, but when I saw that there was a signed copy just on the tables in Warstones Gower Street, I immediately added this to my pile. I've been wanting to read this for a while though. I've been wanting to read a little bit of Laura Bates for a good while. She's got her new book out about like AI and sexism, which is it sounds very, very interesting. Probably going to wait until that comes out in paperback to read that one, though. So yeah, gonna read this. I had to stop the video for a moment because I just started choking on dust every single time I do one of these videos where I like have to shift around a large amount of books. No matter how new they are, it still gets super dusty in my room. I think I just need to have like a full-on proper dust of my room and my problems will all be solved. But that takes time and effort and I'm lazy, so but yeah, it's quite dusty. So yeah, I'm just gonna suffer. Next, we have Are You Awake by Sarah Crossan, which is another victim of the woman in box trend. It's another literary fiction with a painting of a woman in a box. Um, yeah, this trend isn't going away anytime soon. This is. What is this? On an ordinary morning in an ordinary house, a woman discovers a secret her husband has been keeping. It is a secret that explodes their marriage. I'm assuming that the husband is cheating on her. It's going to be one of those stories. Honestly, I don't know much about this book. I saw it and I saw loads of people praising it, and I was interested. I have read Sarah Crossan in the past. I have read a couple of her young adult novels that are in verse, um, which I have enjoyed in the past. It was like a few years ago that I read them, but yeah, she seems to be having a bit of a renaissance. I see so many of her books come into the into the charity shop where I work nowadays. She seems to be having a little bit of a renaissance going on. I think she's got this book, which is an adult fiction book, and then she has another young adult book coming out pretty much at the same time, which is honestly brave, quite impressive. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this one isn't actually in verse. No, it's not. It's just got very short chapters going on, but it's not in verse. So yeah, it has been a while since I've read her books. So I don't really know what to expect from this one, but hopefully I will enjoy it. Then we have Warrior Queens and Quiet Revolutionaries by Kate Moss, which is feminist history. I like a bit of feminist history. Yeah, again, I saw this on the tables and I picked it up because I wanted a little bit more feminist nonfiction going on. I'm assuming it's going to kind of go through a whole load of historical women and their lives. I've read something like this in the past. I read, what was it called? 100 Nasty Women of History or something like that, which I enjoyed. That was, it was written in a very kind of millennial humor type way, which I don't know if I completely vibed with, but it was entertaining. This one I'm assuming is going to be a little bit more kind of serious and informative that way. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this one's about. We're coming down to the last couple of books now. Don't worry, it's nearly over. We have Babylonia by Costanza Casati. The effort I had to go into acquiring this book, like a couple of weeks ago, this book was everywhere. I couldn't enter a bookstore without being assaulted by copies, like on the tables, shining, reflecting light in my eyes. And yet, I went into Waterstone's Gower Street, and there were no copies to be found. Nothing there. And even when I went into my local Waterstones, I was kind of hoping that it would still be like on a table because it is relatively recent. It came out in paperback kind of recently, but no, they had one copy and it was hidden away on a shelf. So yeah, I think I maybe came to the party a little bit too late for this one. But yeah, it's written by the same author who wrote Clytemnestra, which I have not read. I have had a copy for ages, but have not read it. I hear that this one is better though, so maybe I should start with this one. Does sound very interesting. It's a more kind of historical retelling, I believe, about Semiramis, who was a Mesopotamian queen. I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah, sounds very interesting. An area of history that I don't really know anything about, so that will always be interesting and exciting. Yeah, looking forward to reading this one. And then finally, we have A History of the Roman Empire in 21 Women by Emma Southern, which I have wanted to read ever since I read her other book, A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which I loved. Genuinely one of my favorite nonfiction books ever. It's just so entertaining. It's written in a way that is so accessible and funny and still informative. And, you know, that book was about a very serious topic of murder and death, and it still kind of treated the victims with a lot of respect, despite still being funny and entertaining. It struck a really good balance. So, yeah, I have wanted to read this one ever since then. Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be similar vibes to like Kate Moss's book, but still written in that kind of entertaining and down to earth and accessible way that, you know, doesn't make my eyes glaze over like nonfiction books normally do. So yeah, I will be reading this one ASAP, I'm sure. And that's all of them. So it's a pretty significant pile going on, and I'm gonna have to see if I can find room for all of those books, which is going to be a challenge. But yeah, that's all of the books. If you have read any of them, let me know in the comments. Let me know which book I should start with. Um, yeah, that's it really. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I say more content like this, but I don't do book hauls very often. Definitely not book hauls of this size. This seems to be just an annual thing that happens on my birthday, and that's it. That's everything. We are not into overconsumption core in this house. I don't have the money for it. I don't have the space for it. I live in my parents' box room. Okay? I don't have space for all of those books that I see people buying. So, yeah. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok and Storygraph and Blue Sky. My username on all those platforms is @WinlivJones, just like on here. If you want to see even more bookish content. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.